Okay, we're back with part 2 of the baby Lovey video. I've sewn my middle panel together now. I ironed mine out because I initially ironed it in, but this yellow, you could kind of see the blue through. I didn't like that, so I ironed it out. Depending on what you pick in the middle, may determine which way you iron all your seams, okay? So now, it should be the same length as these squares. You'll see that it lines up really nicely. And we're going to do the same thing, but with the tops and the bottom. So we'll line these up with right sides together, sew along the bottom. You'll notice that all of my seam allowances are the same. So this one is 1/4 inch. These two on either side are about the same. If one is significantly bigger or smaller than the other, your square, they won't be the same length. It's not the entire end of the world if one ends up if you end up with a little bit more of something like this going on, where if it's even on this side but off here, your seam won't be centered, which may bother you. If it doesn't bother you and it ends up being bigger, that's better than it being smaller. If it ends up being smaller, where I have to trim off this whole section here, also not the end of the world, but what you're going to do after you sew all the pieces together is trim it into a nice square, and then take the square that you've sewn and lay it over your Minky fabric, and then cut around the square to your Minky fabric. So I'm going to pause it, sew the square together, and then show you what it looked like on my Minky. Okay, we're back. Sorry, the baby's having a little bit of a fit, so you might hear some noises from him. So I took my square, I ironed it. I was pretty happy with how the edges came out. You'll see there's a little bit of unevenness here, and again on this side and that side. So it's okay. I'm still pretty happy with how it came out, how even the seams are across the top and the bottom. Hold on. What I did is after I pressed it, I laid it over my Minky fabric and cut the Minky fabric around the outside. I did leave it a little bit bigger because this is kind of slippery fabric and kind of can be hard to work with. So making it bigger, I can trim it later and give myself a little bit more comfort to work with. So the next thing we need to do before we sew these two pieces of fabric together is take our face fabric and decide where we want it to be. So the idea is that it will go in a corner with the ears. Oops, the ears would go this way, because this is the inside of the ears.